Hey, Diana, did you know everything you need to know about trust you can learn from the Blue Angels?
Mark, that's the dumbest thing you've ever said.
Ladies and gentlemen, jurists and just curious, welcome to the Successful Barrister podcast. Here you'll learn about marketing, management, and life skills for lawyers that probably won't get you disbarred. Hosted by Marc Whitehead, a seasoned lawyer who remembers when fax machines were cutting edge, and Diana Berry, attorney, COO, and the brains behind the scenes. Together, they are the legal world's most dynamic duo since statutes met regulations. So if you're looking to build a practice, not a prison, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Successful Barrister, where legal legends are made.
And welcome to the Successful Barrister podcast, the podcast for lawyers and law firm leaders about marketing, management, and life skills that probably won't get you disbarred. I am your host, Marc Whitehead, alongside my number one, Diana Berry. Hey, Diana, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you, Mark?
I'm excellent. Played in a golf tournament this morning and finished a strong fifth.
Out of how many? You have to tell them how many, Mark.
Well, it was about 25 teams.
Very
so
respectable.
We were definitely in the top, top cut.
That's much better than
not
top
in the money. You got to be in the top three to be in the money. But we finished, fifth. So
It was a hot day in Houston too. Humid day.
It was a hot and humid day. So I'm a little bit parched here as I sit here and drink this hot coffee out of my Daffy Duck coffee cup. So
well, and also you're about to go on. Well, you're going to be out of office basically until late October.
So I'm going to Atticus tomorrow morning. Have a 7 a.m. flight out, going to Atticus to hang out with my friends.
You're going for business coaching.
Mark. Oh yeah, going for business. Oh yeah, that's right. We're going for business, a tax deductible reason.
There you go.
Going to hang out with Atticus. We're going to learn all the good things that Atticus can teach us
about unreasonable hospitality, soon to be a podcast, I'm sure.
Yes, that's the book that we're covering, Unreasonable Hospitality, which I have not read yet, but it's on my list. It's on my list.
It's a good book.
And bonus, my wife and I are going to stay around because Atticus is having a couples workshop immediately after. So Mrs. Whitehead is coming with me. She's like, what am I going to do the 2 days before the couples workshop starts? And I'm like, just hang out at the pool or something. I don't know what you're going to do. Go shopping, do something. I invited her to come with us. She can actually sit in with Atticus with us. They don't mind. And she goes, that sounds boring.
Oh.
So
no offense, Steve Riley. It is probably not her cup of tea.
But anyway, so the fun part about this, after we get done with the couples workshops, we're going to take an extra couple of days and we're going to go to Universal Epic Park and just her and I, and we're going to ride roller coasters until we puke. That's the goal.
Okay. Well, good luck on your goal. Please don't tell me if you reach it.
So the goal, the first one who pukes loses. And so I'm bound and determined to win this contest with my wife.
Well, good luck, Mark, on all the things. The couples workshop is definitely one of the cooler things that I've heard about through Atticus. Yeah. So very cool that you guys are doing it after this many years of being an Atticus student.
Right. That's kind of the funny thing is like you go to these seminars, especially like Atticus, and you come back and your staff, oh, great, they're coming back with all these weird ideas. And my wife's the same way. It's like, what, is this a cult? What do y'all do?
A little bit of a cult.
So I would definitely say it's a cult. Yeah. But, that's what, they're
good
no
cults. Offense, Steve Riley.
It could be a good cult.
No, it's a very cool thing. So I'm sad to miss
so Steve
today.
was asked this question once, is Atticus a cult? And his answer was no, because a cult has one central figure as its leader, whereas Atticus is very diffuse and has multiple, little leadership pods.
Is that the only reason?
That's the reason
Riley?
Steve says it's not a cult.
Well, I don't. Okay, as long as he has a reason. That's how he distinguishes
Atticus from some, whatever.
One of the things though.
But we do drink the Kool-Aid, so there.
Well, and one of the reasons why I think that you've drank the Kool-Aid, drank the Kool-Aid
drank the Kool-Aid for so long
is because you trust your Atticusins.
I do. I trust my Atticusins.
And I think that that's what we're talking. Well, that is, I know what we're talking about today, but it wasn't anything that you really, that happened overnight.
So what I would say about my Atticusins is I don't necessarily say I trust them and say that they're always right, but I will trust them. I do trust them to give honest feedback. So it's a great place to go and bounce ideas off of people. You know, they're not competitors. They're not in our market. They're not doing sort of the same things we're doing. So you can run things by them and you can get true, honest to goodness feedback.
It's very well intentioned, I think, the feedback that you get, or at least
Yes.
you can trust that to be that. So today, Marc, what are we talking about?
So we are talking about high trust leadership. And this is another military book. We just did one of these last week.
We did. We did Extreme Ownership very recently.
Yes, that was a Navy SEAL. So high trust leadership was actually written by a Navy Blue Angel, and I would assume most people know, but for those, under a rock who do not know, the Blue Angels are an aerial performance team with the Navy. They fly, what do they fly? I think they fly F-18 jets.
Like jets.
The Hornets.
That's
They
all
fly
I got.
F-18 Hornets.
Okay.
I think they fly the Super Hornets, which is a upgraded version. But they're painted blue with yellow trim, and they're in lots of TV shows, lots of movies. They perform at all the air shows. Basically, do high performance acrobats. Very dangerous stuff.
They fly these multi-million-dollar planes, jets, within millimeters, inches of each other, and so, of course, at the very heart of these pilots is trust.
Yes, trust is a key component of their success and quite honestly, their survival.
Yes, absolutely. And so Captain George Daum is the author of this book. We had to read it. Actually, we were assigned it by our EOS implementer because, as some of our more regular listeners know, we have struggled with trust issues on our leadership team. And frankly, it came to a head earlier this year, and we are now tackling it head on, especially with this book and in other initiatives. And so today we thought we would walk you through the book, but not in a book report way. Some maybe more war stories in this episode.
Kind of
than
how
others.
it's kind of come to fruition, kind of hit home with us.
With us in our different, in our different relationships, not only with the leadership team, but also probably how we've seen it pan out across the different departments as the firm has grown. Marc, one of the things that I loved about the book was Daum's, the author's, concept of the trust continuum. And I know that, of course, you're going to be totally unsurprised that in my head, I thought that trust was very black and white. I know you're shocked that that was the way that I thought about it.
Yes,
but
shocked, just shocked.
Trust to me was either I trust you or I don't. But Daum, the author, said, no, there's this whole trust continuum that you can kind of learn how to trust people. Trust 1.0 is basic trust all the way up to, 3.0, which is, this unconditional trust. And that to me, I think was just worth the book itself, that as we were working through our trust issues on the leadership team, it's not like I have to all of a sudden flip a switch and trust my entire leadership team with everything and all that they do. I can slowly kind of ease my way into trusting the entire leadership team on all the little 5 criteria that Daum mentions.
Right. So trust is it's in different levels. I trust people. When I meet people, I generally trust them to be nice and pleasant to me. That doesn't mean I necessarily trust them to be honest with me. That level of trust has to, there has to be some demonstration. You have to earn that. Do I trust you to, perform, say if I hire somebody and I trust you to perform at a basic level of competence, okay? Well, again, you have to demonstrate that and it has to be earned. Do I trust you with my life? Okay, that's something that you really have to earn. Yeah. That takes a little bit longer. So there is a continuum here. You're right. Trust is not black and white. It is a gradual continuum, at various stages and levels. And I think Daum kind of really lays all that out pretty well within the book. So
Yep.
Hit me with it. How's it work?
Well, so he walks you through the 5 C's. That's how he frames out trust in leadership teams. So character, do you walk your talk? That's the first C.
In other words, do I trust you to be honest with me?
I think about it a little differently, but I see where you're going with that.
Yeah.
The second C is commitment. Will you be with us when the going gets rough and play to win?
Yeah. In other words, are you on my team? Are you going to stick with me?
Yep, through thick and thin. Competence is the third C. Are you skilled and relevant?
Can you do the job that I hired you to do?
Yes. Are you going to fly your jet correctly?
Right.
The fourth C is connection. Do they believe that I understand them?
Okay. Do we share the same vision? Are we aligned with what the vision of the firm is?
Absolutely. And of course, our fifth C is communication. And that means, do they understand me?
In other words, do we talk the same language? When we communicate, are we just throwing words at each other, or are we really exchanging ideas?
Yep. And are we speaking the same language? I think that's exactly it, even though we're all generally speaking English in this firm. So, Marc, I think that we've walked our way through the book.
I would question that sometimes we speak different versions of English.
Oh, yes. Ooh, sometimes I'm like, Marc, one more time. Tell me again. What are you saying to me? But I think that we launched right into the book, and I think that we forget, why do you think it's so important that we actually tackled the trust issues on our leadership team? And especially now where you are on your flywheel, where you are in your growth plan. I think it manifests itself in client service, and different things. But why did you decide not only to spend this much money, but to dedicate so much to trust?
Well, all right, let's start with the basics. What are we here to do? We're here to serve our clients, okay? What do clients buy? Okay, clients really don't know much about us. So the key component when a client comes in to choose us over the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other lawyers out there or law firms out there that they could choose, it starts with the basic element of trust. They have to trust us, and clients are pretty good about discerning that, because they look at how you treat them and not just me, because I'm not the one necessarily greeting everybody, but how all of my people treat them. So this is something that you have to instill throughout your entire firm, particularly your intake department, under this particular scenario. So, you have to be trustworthy. I always, it's always the joke the other day, how do you know when a lawyer's lying, his lips are moving? I always hated that, because I know for a fact, I think most lawyers know this, that as a rule, lawyers are, as a profession, are one of the most trustworthy group of people out there. I think we all have as a profession, we have a very high standard that we live up to, but we just tend to be the butt of jokes. But, I trust lawyers, when they tell me something, a whole lot more than, when, God knows, a used car salesman tells me something. Okay,
that's fair, Marc.
I think as a profession, we are very trustworthy. There's always outliers. There's always, stories out there about the bad actors. But I think as a whole, I think lawyers are very trustworthy as a profession.
Yep. And so what I heard you say, again, we might be speaking different versions of English here, but what I think I heard you say is that when you have a team that trusts each other, then the client's going to experience that even on some level.
Even on a subconscious level.
I think that's really it when you talk about intake, because that's all they know about you is subconscious. But, the way that I think that I've seen it is, and ops obviously, is when, you get passed from, because we have pods in I'm not going to get too technical here, but we have, sometimes our clients
sections,
get passed
divisions,
to different.
We call them pods.
Exactly. So when a client moves from one part of his or her case to the next, he or she may get transferred to another person, another case manager, one who is more specialized in that particular part of the process. And whenever that client gets moved to another person, inevitably it's like, but I like you. I want you to come. I want you to walk me through this process.
Right.
And so that's a very natural and expected part. We work very hard to make sure that transition is expected and that they know that, no, this is okay. But before, especially when I was first here, the transition of, oh, well, I'm sorry, but that person is no longer with the firm. and here's a new person. That is where I think a lot of our clients really feel maybe the disconnect or the lack of trust is in maybe turnover with your people. So I think that's really why you have decided to focus on trust this year on your leadership team and developing trust in the firm. And so if you do not know, listeners, whether your team trusts each other, whether your leadership team has trust with each other, highly recommend that you absolutely do some kind of trust assessment or take Lencioni's 5 Dysfunctions of a Team and figure it out. You absolutely cannot be blind on this one particular issue.
Okay, so we've done a podcast on 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. This is from Lencioni. What's Lencioni's first name again? I'm blanking.
Oh,
not
Patrick?
Dan. Patrick Lencioni. Yes. Patrick.
Points.
Oh, you're so good. You're like
That's why you hired me.
You're a walking encyclopedia. Patrick Lencioni's 5 Dysfunctions of a Team has a trust assessment built in the book. And I bet you don't even have to buy the book. I think you can go to his website.
Yeah.
Just Google it. Do the little what the magic fairies do, and it takes you there. And I'm sure that this trust assessment is one of his tools that's available for free download. And we like free. Free is great.
We do, and especially on something as important as this issue. So
yeah, heaven forbid we spend money on something this important.
this important. Yeah, don't do that. So I guess, Mark, in our next segment, we're going to talk about the 5 C's.
We're going to talk a little bit about the 5 C's and kind of how we think about them in this law firm.
Yeah, some of our war stories.
Ooh, war stories. Great.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back.
This podcast is sponsored by Marc Whitehead Associates, a national disability benefits law firm. Marc Whitehead runs a firm of over 60 dedicated people whose mission is to make a difference in the lives of our injured and disabled clients. Marc represents disabled claimants in Social Security disability, private disability insurance, and veterans disability claims in all 50 states. Marc Whitehead is double board certified in both Social Security disability law and personal injury trial law. Marc has litigated disability cases in over 40 states and counting and can help your clients too. Stop throwing your phone calls away. Call Marc Whitehead at 701-VIP-LEAD. That's 701-VIP-LEAD. Or visit our website at disabilitydenials.com. Referral fees are paid in all jurisdictions where it is permitted. Refer us your disability cases today and know that your clients will be in good hands.
And we're back. All right. So talking about trust, and as I came across it, one of the concepts within the book that to me was very basic and simplistic, yet sort of profound, why trust is important. One of the problems when you have low trust with your team, what happens when you have low trust? And as he points out, what happens is you end up being a micromanager because you don't trust them, which leads to high turnover rate, which leads to disengagement with your people. It becomes a kind of this little death spiral, as opposed to when you have high trust and, you have the confidence to empower your employees, then you get more consistency from their performance. You get better customer service from their performance. So, it from a pure operational standpoint, and you love ops, I know you do, you want to trust your people.
Yep.
You want to trust them, that they paid attention to their training. They're going to follow the proper procedures. They're going to do what you expect them to do, but they're also going to use their brain. You got to trust people to use their brain because not everything fits neatly in a checklist or in an operational procedure or something along those lines. You still have to work. We are a service business, so you still have to work within the broader confines of that big, bulky gray matter you got floating around in your head. So that was sort of a concept that kind of hit me because I hate micromanaging. It is like the bane of my existence. You know that. I hate it.
I think I can probably think about which former employee you're thinking about.
Yes. So, and that's the problem. Lack of trust leads to that. And just, anyway. I digress.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's very hard, especially for managing partners, CEOs, to think about, okay, well, why would I spend money or time on something this either amorphous, something that I can't put black and white P&L to, like to see my rewards.
Yeah, it is such a soft, touchy-feely thing. And I'm, quite frankly, neither you nor I are very soft, touchy-feely people.
I think that's why we get along so well, Mark.
Well, probably so. Yes.
So not that we're, so cold and callous, but I do feel like you and I are very focused on, okay, what's the P&L say this month, but when you focus on these kind of soft, touchy-feely things, I think your returns, it really does help your flywheel continue to go. So, Mark, lead us through the 5 C's. The first one that he mentions is character.
So, character. Do you walk your talk? I think he says the unspoken question is: do you keep your promises, live our shared values, and lead by example? It's almost kind of like what we were talking about last week. Oh God, I'm blanking. This is what happens when I break my brain in the sun all day and then try to come in and do a podcast.
I'm impressed you tried to do this again.
I know. I was really trying to squeeze this in before I leave town. Help me out here.
What were we doing?
What were we talking about last week?
Mark.
Oh, geez.
That's all right. Well, so for character, do you walk your talk to me is like when you tell me you're going to do one thing and you do another. So I'm just going to go ahead and have a little therapy session. Mm-hmm. You and I had a difficult session or difficult conversation a while back. Well, about in the last month. Mm-hmm. And you and I had to deal with obviously our leadership team, someone on our leadership team. And you said, nope, this is the way I'm going to do it. And then you met with someone else and then you came to me and you said, yeah, no, I'm not going to do it that way. Do you remember?
I vaguely remember. I'm not sure I would
want to remember.
I don't think I would describe it the way you're describing it, but you go ahead.
I mean, it is my therapy session, I'm going to get to decide. Mark told me
vomit what you want to vomit. So
Mark told me he was going to do something, and then he came back later and said he's not going to do it. But to me,
well, I was honest about it.
Very honest, and I completely agree. But I think that you and I have enough of a relationship. It's 5 years next month, and I think about a lot of that as credits and debits. You and I had enough credits that one debit, those significant. I don't think I talked to you for 24 hours.
Oh my God.
Business hours.
You know how long it's been since I took an accounting class?
Victor,
help me out. What's a debit and what's a credit?
Debit's something that you pay towards. Well, it's basically like an income in a sense. And credit is like a debt.
There you go.
Okay, a debt. Okay, a debt.
You
debit,
took
a debt.
away. And but you and I had enough positives.
Credit is good, debit is bad.
Very
is that what
bad.
we're trying to say?
Mark, how are you our CFO? So anyway, at the point though that
I hired this out.
Do you walk your talk? So you and I were able to get past that. But I think where you find some tension in the character pillar of Dom's 5 C's is when you don't walk your talk. And some of that can be, he mentions that 2 of the barriers are rationalizations and blind spots. You just didn't realize. You just, either you rationalized one way or another way after I left and you and I had your conversation. But over a period of time, if you and I would have our conversations and then you would come back to me and said, oh, by the way, yeah, no, I decided to do something completely different. That would absolutely wear on our relationship. I would never be able to trust you. The bold steps that I take to run your firm, I would not take because I'd be like, well, what's Mark going to do next? I don't know, because he may decide and change his mind after he talks to this next person. And that was the story that I thought of when I was thinking about this outline.
Okay, so when I look at character, do you mean what you say? Do you say what you mean? Mm-hmm. Okay, it's real simple. Are you honest and straightforward, whether I agree with you or not? And are you being honest in what you're saying with me? So, like you said, in that particular situation, I honestly said, no, I'm going to do this. And then I reconsidered for various reasons. And then I came back and I honestly said, okay, I have changed my mind and I'm going to do that. Both times I was being straightforward and honest with you. I just, I came to a different conclusion after I learned more facts, is kind of, quite frankly, what happened.
You had all the facts, sir. You had all the facts. You just decided to rule in a different way, which again, you're building your firm. You can do whatever you want. But also, I think but that's exactly the type of behavior that I think that people, if your manager is always like, okay, well, no, I got more facts, so now we're going to do it this way. So can you imagine if that's the way that worked down the line, right? Oh, no, we're not going to handle customer service this way. Or I just think that it would be a difficult way to, if you didn't have characters, the way that Dom puts that. And so moving on to the second C, commitment. Will you be with us when the going gets rough and play to win?
Yes. So that's always the fun part. So people who are dedicated and who are loyal earn trust. I have several employees, many employees that have been with us for many years. I've talked extensively about Melanie, who's been with me for over 30 years. So she's earned a massive amount of trust because she has shown loyalty. I don't know how many times people have tried to hire her away from me, but every time she has stayed. She's had opportunities to do other things. She could, quite frankly, at this point, she could just walk off into the sunset and retire, but she's still loyal. She wants to stay. She wants to do good work. She takes pride in her work. So she has developed over the years trust. And not that it matters that much because they usually don't stick around that long, but there are some people, that have come through this firm that, a month, 2 months, 3 months into it, you can just tell that I'm not sure, that I can trust this person with the keys to the kingdom. They just seem to, they're here to collect a paycheck, but they don't seem to be loyal. They don't seem to be dedicated. And I'm thinking of a couple that struck me, and you know who these people are.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Right off the bat, you were like, oh, this person is not a long-termer. They're just not there. So
well, and I think for commitment to the one that I think about, especially on a leadership level, I think you were maybe speaking of down the line, but on a leadership level, I think about whether they're going to put the firm or the leadership team first, right, above either their team, which is a hard concept. We're still working very much through that,
right,
but also over themselves individually. So, the basic EOS concept is that when you make leadership decisions in your leadership level 10, whatever the consensus is that is decided, when you walk out of that room, everybody made that decision. You don't go behind and say, well, Mark and I disagreed, but, this is the way the team voted, so this is the way we're going to go. When you leave the leadership level 10, if the commitment that you're looking for, that you and I are honestly trying to create with our leadership team, is we don't talk about our decisions or how each individual person voted. It's, nope, we all decided this is the path that, as a leadership team, we're going forward. I tell Mark sometimes I tend to be a little bit, I don't know. You do tend to tell me I'm a little cold sometimes, or a little harsh. But so don't tell this one against me. But this one, the second C, commitment, made me think of a quote from The Godfather.
Oh, cool! I love The Godfather.
The easy one, the
1,
easy
2,
quote.
or 3.
Oh, one. Oh, okay. The quote was, "Don't ever take sides with anyone against the family again."
Oh, that's definitely 1.
1. I was gonna say 1. That's 1.
That's 1.
But do you see what I'm saying about that quote? Do you see how I connect the two, or am I just
No, I get you. Again? I get you totally. So I mean, it's a hard concept. I mean, if you get outvoted in a leadership committee vote, but you have to follow that path, even though that's not what you voted for. I mean, that's the very definition of commitment.
Well, and it's definitely you don't
first.
Exactly, and you have to go to your team and say, okay, well, we're doing it this way from now on, and it may impact them most directly, but you have to say, we decided this, not like, hey guys, I advocated for you guys as hard as I could, and we voted this way. That's tough, and so we're still working on it. Definitely works in progress, but. That's where I've seen that one tested in our firm. So,
gotcha.
Moving to the third C, Mark, competence.
Yes. Are you skilled and relevant? So, do you have the skills necessary?
Yeah.
Are you competent? So, skills can mean a lot of things. Are you skilled in the tasks that you are charged with performing on a daily basis? Are you skilled in, dealing with the clients and giving good customer service? Are you skilled in managing the team that you may manage? If you are you skilled at following directions? If you're on the other side of that, if you are the one being managed, so there's lots of levels of competency. And again, that is something that is earned. I don't assume anybody. I assume people are smart when we hire them, but I don't assume that they're competent in what we need them to do. I assume that we have to provide you a basic level of training, and then you gradually learn by experience, by seeing, by doing. So I expect your competence to improve over time, which is how my trust with you improves over time. My senior lawyers, I trust implicitly in them handling cases. I know that they know what they're doing. Okay. Versus, if we have a newer attorney or a newer staff person, I know that they're going to need to shadow people, that they're going to need to learn by experience, learn by maybe doing some quote unquote classroom work. Doesn't mean I don't think they're smart. It just means they don't have the experience that I can, cut the cord and set them free.
Yeah. So when I think about competence, I think about cynics. We've done this one before. One of my favorite XY axis. Do I trust you with my wife? Do I trust you with my life? Not to cross our military branches, since we're talking about the Blue Angels today, but that one was Sinek when he did a talk. Simon Sinek.
Simon Sinek, yes.
Sinek or Sinek?
I've seen him pronounce it on YouTube. He says Sinek.
There we go. Thank you so much, Mark. So he does the XY axis where he talks about Navy SEALs and how they say, do I trust you with my wife? It's probably their character right there, that first C. And do I trust you with my life? That's the competence.
Yeah. Are you
good?
Competent? Are you good enough?
Absolutely. And so, of course, Sinek in his XY axis talks about, how even if they have a very high performing Navy SEAL, but a low character is what Dom's language would be. I don't trust you with my wife, but I would trust you with my life. They would take someone with more like kind of middle range on their ability to trust the competence, to use Dom's language again. But if they have high trust, I will trust you with my wife. But you know what? My life, more or less you're a B.
Yeah.
They would take that person any day. So
it's like in Maverick, Tom Cruise, greatest pilot in the world. Would you trust Tom with your wife? I don't know. I don't know. He's too good looking.
Yeah,
at least he was.
Suave.
He used to be back then. He was anyway.
Yeah. So I think that the other way that I've seen this actually applied in our firm as we have scaled and created a team of nearly 20. When there's not clear delineation of tasks and who does what, you will have very competent team members who refuse to delegate because there's no trust that the task that they will delegate will get accomplished in a timely way and with the customer service that they think that should happen.
You really struck a chord there because we have managers who just don't want to delegate. They just don't want to delegate. And I think deeply rooted in there is the trust issue.
100%.
And number one, how can your subordinate prove to you that they can perform the task if you never give them the opportunity? So you're denying them the experience that they need. Mm-hmm. Plus, you're creating a massive bottleneck because now you've taken on two jobs because you're doing your job and you're doing their job at the same time. Massive bottleneck.
Well, and
it's all because of a lack of trust.
And they really do think that they're helping you.
And they do. And that's the fallacy. Okay. They think they're doing a good job, and they're not.
Yeah. Well, especially if you're elevating up into management positions or just trying to even create a scalable organization. If any of our listeners are just growing so fast and you find those bottlenecks, I bet you'd find this one right here, the lack of trust and the competency.
All right. Next, connection. Do they believe that I understand them? All right, now help me out on this one. This one I've struggled with.
Well, so Dom, okay, let me tell you the way that Dom talks about it. So Dom says that a high trust leader must be able to see the world through their teammates' eyes. And I swear, Mark, I am not on Instagram all day. But the way that I thought about it, I saw this Instagram reel one day.
Are you really not? Really? Can I look at your screen? Let me see your phone. I want to see your screen time. I want to see your screen time.
So... but I think it's a difference between perception and perspective. My perception is what's happening through my eyes. Perspective is the ability to see something through somebody else's eyes. And that to me was my aha moment when thinking about connection. Do I see what's happening? And this happens a lot. This is actually something that happens in our level 10. So I hope that they don't listen to our podcast.
No, they don't listen to our podcast. They're on Instagram.
Yeah,
That's what they're doing.
But just don't make this one a reel, guys. Producers, don't make this one a reel.
Victor, no reels here.
This is what I see happened with our team. This is how it manifests itself. Intention. Well, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings, Mark. I was coming from it from this this is what I meant to do. So therefore it absolves me of all blame. But really what the Instagram reel taught me was that if you were able to sit in someone else's perspective, you can gain empathy for what they're trying to share with you. And that's what creates connection. Yeah. Do you see that?
Yes. And so I think the point that Dom made in the book is connection doesn't necessarily mean you have to like the person.
Oh gosh, no. Yeah.
Yes. You don't have to necessarily like the person, but you need, the communication, the respect, the ability to put yourself in their place, or mutually put each other's of yourselves in each other's places.
Absolutely. And I think that's not something that's one and done, right? Like you can't say, okay, Mark, you and I are going to go to lunch and we are going to have this 90-minute empathic conversation. Okay, check the box. Now I can go on back to my docket and not do this ever again. It takes a lot of intentionality. It takes a lot of consistency. And I feel like this is one of those things, this pillar specifically of DOMS 5 is one of the hardest maybe for attorneys because we do get caught in the whirlwind so much. The very essence of this podcast is how do you push your stuff forward, your rocks forward, and how do you not get billed to prison? All of that is really, it's how do you do this intentionally and consistently? And it's very hard for attorneys who have a double docket, who are doing two jobs, like you said, those people that are both running their firm as well as running the docket. Yeah, how many of your added cousins are you going to talk to this week? And that's going to be exactly where they are. And so to be a high trust leader, you have to build and maintain that connection by investing time and attention so that people feel understood. And especially with our leadership team that have been together for so long, that inconsistency of, oh, bad word here, shit, I just, I was doing so well and then I really messed up. And that's where.
Can we say shit in this podcast?
I don't know. Bleep me out, guys.
When we say
you can bleep me out, producers.
We have? Okay. I think Victor's
I just think that
now.
that's where you can really kind of get that friction if you feel like that leadership team, you're in your leadership team, or even I guess in any of your teams, but I see this most on leadership teams with attorneys. I'm thinking of a firm now that they just can't get us because they've got too many inconsistencies. They can't get past each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I know some, and they might listen to this podcast, so I'm not going to mention them by name.
Well, then moving to the fifth C.
So segue, you mentioned, you may not have realized it, but you mentioned, do they understand me? That's the essence of the fifth C, communication. Mm-hmm. Do they understand me? I think the concept, it's difficult to trust someone if you don't understand each other. Again, that's back to the language, I actually talked about this from the DISC profile because I recently retook my DISC profile.
You gamed it.
I did not game it. And for the third time in a row, I am basically the same. I am a high S, high C base. Almost exactly the same score. That wasn't my point. And no, I did not game the test.
It's my point.
My point was that for the first time, because I'm going to this couples workshop, my wife took the DISC test. And quite frankly, she was a high I, and I knew she'd be a high I. I thought she would also be a high D.
Yes, we've talked about that.
I really thought she would be a high D, high I, because quite frankly, she dominates the crap out of me. So maybe that's just what wives do with their husbands. I don't know, but
also how you see yourself at home versus. I don't know how you were supposed to take the DISC test.
I don't know, but anyway. So, but she didn't have a lot of high D. So, segue where I was trying to go with this before I went down this rabbit hole of my wife's DISC test.
No, I just think you needed to vent for a little bit, Mark.
I might have.
It was your therapy session.
So the point is like one of the key tools within the DISC profile that you were given is it talks about how to communicate with this particular individual, how they like to be communicated with, and methods of communication that don't necessarily work well with this particular individual. This is why we DISC profile everybody in the office, and all the DISC profiles are available for anyone to look at. They're kept in a common on the S drive. So anybody can look at my DISC profile, down to the medical records clerks. Just anybody can look at anybody's DISC profile. And I encourage particularly people to look at their immediate supervisor's DISC profile, and I encourage the supervisors to look at their immediate subordinates, their team members, their DISC profiles, and learn from each other on ways to best communicate with each other. So I think it's a brilliant tool for the 5th C here.
Mark, you and I really should have prepared for this podcast, because I actually looked at our DISC test, because I think we have struggled the most with I think we've struggled the most on every one of these pillars, but this one I feel like we struggle the most because the DISC profiles on our leadership team are so varied. And so, for example, I went into some of our high I's, not the one not all the ones you're thinking of, because we have a few high I's that you don't know about. And so, the TTO, so no, it's not the TTI, yes, I think that the DISC profile that we use, they repeat a lot of the same phrases, depending on like if you're a high I or a high S or a high C. So, for example, I pulled a lot of. I feel
sorry for people listening to this that have no idea what DISC is.
Oh, well, then you started it.
I know. Well, we need to refer them back to the podcast that we did on the DISC profile.
We don't know what that one is, though.
Yeah, listeners. We don't know off the top of our head. We'll put it in the show notes. Victor will put it in the show notes.
Really briefly, guys, is a behavioral test that gauges on 4 indices: D for dominance, I for influence, S for steadiness, and C for compliance. You're gauged from 0 to 100. If you are above a 50, you're considered a high in that particular index. And then if you're below 50, you're considered a low. So, for example, high I's tend to be extroverts, and low I's, like yours truly, are very much introverts, which my DISC basically actually said, basically an introvert. That's an exact quote from my DISC profile. So with the test that we use as a hiring test, it's not a pass-fail, but it's simply to help us get to know the candidate a little bit better. They repeat some of the same phrases for that particular high I or a high C. So, for example, a high I saw this in multiple high I profiles. She tends to tell people what she thinks they want to hear. Also from a high I's DISC, she can get short of the facts and figures needed to support her ideas. Do you know what was said on all of your high C DISC profiles?
What's that?
Facts are facts.
Facts are facts.
Facts are facts. So you can see the tension in and of itself with just the quotes that I pulled from a high I versus a high C. And if you have people, if you don't know the DISC profile, guys, if you don't know the DISC profiles of your list of your team, your leadership team, please get them, because you will immediately find why there's conflict. Because now I know when a high I is talking, it's not like they're intentionally leading me astray or lying to me. I used to think, oh my gosh, this person lied to me. It's like, no, they're just telling me what I want to hear. They really do think that they're doing.
They think they're doing you a service by telling you what you want to hear. That's not. And facts are facts, people.
Don't they understand who they're dealing with?
I know. All right, cheap plug, atticusadvantage.com. You can order your DISC profiles.
Very helpful. Apparently also for your marriage.
Yes.
So, Mark, before we end the segment, I want to kind of put it all together for our listeners. One of the things
bring us home.
That Dom mentions that you should create a personal action plan, which that's a very fancy way. What we did is for our leadership team to kind of, again, we needed this to be applicable to our list, to our leadership team. So we created a grid with the 5 C's and how we would then, and with each of our leadership team across the top, and how we would then basically, I will enforce my character. I will lead with character by, and then we were making a promise to each other. One of the things, again, because we communicate so differently, that I felt that we struggled with is, how do I hold you accountable when you and I are so very different? And if you told me that you were going to, for example, Mark, your commitment was to spend more time with your leadership team, then I can hold you accountable to that, regardless of how busy you are, because you told me that's what you would.
So let's talk more about this grid, because we did this grid and I looked at it and I thought it was like, well, that's kind of cool. And then I haven't seen it since.
Well, I printed it out for you
well,
guys.
I know. And did you laminate it?
I didn't.
You didn't laminate.
Massive fail.
That's
on
a
my
massive
part.
fail. But no, so seriously, but should not we go over this occasionally at level 10 just
think
as
it's a
a
great idea.
refresher and a reminder? Because I thought it was a brilliant tool
Well, thank you.
that now got stuck in a stack of papers.
I think I agree. I will absolutely bring that up in next level 10. And guys, this is just so y'all are clear. It's a modified personal action plan. I modified it for our leadership team. This is not true DOM personal action plan. So don't go read it and think that we are lying to you guys, because facts are facts.
Facts are facts. And
So,
Diana created her own form.
I did what I wanted to do and applied the book for us. And so you absolutely make the book real for you guys by creating a personal action plan. One of the things, Mark, that I thought that Dom brought up in one of the closing chapters that you made me do once was take someone to lunch.
Well, damn, ain't that complicated? It's the simplest thing. That's what I call it management by lunch. Some people call it management by walking around. I call it management by lunch. If there's anybody I ever want to talk to about anything specific, I just say, let's go to lunch. You know, we got, what do we got here? Cooking Girl right across the street.
Oh,
we can just walk right across the street. This cool
So
little
good.
Asian food restaurant that just opened up in our neighborhood. It is so good. Like, let's go across the street. Come on, let's go get some Chinese food. And I want to talk to you about this, and this.
Well, and I mean, it's even
And I
if you
pick up the
don't-
tab.
Yes, Mark always picks up the
I
tab.
always pick up the tab.
I mean, now I've adopted that philosophy, and whenever
I think people sometimes piss me off just to get free lunches now.
I should definitely adopt that theory, though I do get a few free lunches from you. But, you know, I think that even if you don't talk about work things, breaking bread with someone, just talk, try to find some common ground. And maybe that's just, again, trust 1.0. Let's just try and find a way.
Here's trust 1.0, like mix and match your lunch, you know, like, hey, I'll order this if you order that, and then we can share. You know, it's kind of like that commercial, you know, like the insurance commercial where the guy's like, hey, if you get the tuna melt, I'll get the Subway, you know, blah, blah, blah.
That's family style, and I absolutely do that with Eric Torres every single time.
Oh yeah,
we don't
absolutely.
always. I mean, so
Not
if you
only
look at
break
Mike
bread with
Spencer
each
Porter-
other, share bread with
we
each other.
absolutely do that, and that's usually after I've had to tell Erica some hard truths. So she's always a great sport about it. And so, you know, Mark, he also closes chapter 12 with the Stockdale paradox, which I felt like it was a little bit out of left field, but I love it so much.
I love the Stockdale paradox. I just couldn't figure out why it fit in here, but everybody, especially all military books,
They have to
somehow
quote it.
have to quote it.
So what was it again, Mark? What's the Stockdale paradox?
The Stockdale paradox, let me pull it up here so I can read it. You must never confuse faith that you will prevail in the end, which you can never afford to lose, with the discipline to confront the most brutal facts of your current reality, whatever they might be. That's the Stockdale paradox. I think a lot of people are familiar with the story, but General Stockdale was a prisoner in a Vietnam, a POW in Vietnam, and probably was in for over 5 years, if I'm remembering correctly. Anyway, that was kind of how he described it, was that the people who actually survived the POW camp are the ones that came to face their brutal reality, and they dealt with it.
Yep. And so I think we have both struggled on how this applied to trust leadership.
I just like saying the Stockdale paradox because it's cool. But
it is cool. The one thing that Dom did say in this chapter that I thought was really cool was that sometimes you have to view retreat as the pullback on a slingshot. You're setting yourself up to make significant progress. And I think that that's kind of how I have in our trust journey with our leadership team. Sometimes it's just a slingshot. Sometimes, you know, just little steps. We do trust builders quarterly. We're going to go play bingo.
Oh, is that what we're doing this time? Bingo.
We're playing bingo. We have
What happened to axe throwing?
our insurance.
We didn't trust him. We didn't trust him enough to put axes in their hand.
We're not doing that one, sir. I just risk management just made that decision.
We're not going to do the trust fall and that sort of
No, sir.
thing.
I think people would have too much fun with that and just be like, "Oh, sorry, I missed you." But I think that the way that I've thought about
Bingo.
trust,
We're going to do bingo.
We're going to eat and drink. We're going to break bread together, but not just break bread together. We're going to get our little Dampers.
Or little stamp. Yeah.
What,
I don't know
dops?
what those are
Doppers.
called.
I forget what they're called too.
Yeah, I think
Erica's
bingo's
gonna be
rigged,
so
by the way. The
embarrassed
same
by me.
people win over and over again.
Well, they do. Anyway, beyond that though, sometimes you have to look at it as a slingshot. Trust, that is, building trust especially. There will be fits and stops and falters, and sometimes you just got to slingshot it back and go forward. So,
Okay.
Mark, when we come back, what are we going to do?
We're going to talk about Diana and I's 5 action steps going forward.
This is Marc Whitehead, lawyer, entrepreneur, and business coach. Thanks for listening to the Successful Barrister podcast. If we've stirred your juices, hit me up with an email at mark@markwhitehead.com. Remember, Mark is spelled with a C. And get on the Successful Barrister newsletter mailing list. Even better, let's set up a call. I'd love to talk to you about working together, talk shop, or just shooting the breeze.
And we're back. All right. So let's bring it home, Diana. 5 action steps going forward relating to, we're going to call it the 5 C's here of high trust leadership. And I think we decided I get to go first.
Yes, sir. Of
Okay.
course, please.
I would say first action step is do a quick trust audit of your firm, including your partners, associates, staff, even your clients. That might be interesting. If you had to grade your firm's trust level today, A through F, what would you give it? And I would say if you're a C or lower, you might want to go to Patrick Lencioni's website and download that free trust tool to really break it down into its subcomponent parts, because I think that's really what that Lencioni's test does. So that would be my tip. It wouldn't kill you. Go do it even if you got an A or a B.
I was going to say absolutely, especially if you're in growth mode like you are. I think every level of growth or different parts of when you are different phases of your firm or different parts of the flywheel, you just need to to reestablish the foundation of trust at that level.
Absolutely. All right, Diana, what do you got?
I would do the personal action plan. You can do Diana's version, email me, and I'll get that to you. But basically, just go back and if you do nothing else, find DOMS, and it's also available on Google.
Briefly describe yours, because you briefly said the matrix, but just give the listeners real quickly.
Well, so I on the y-axis.
On the y-axis, that's the up and down.
The up and down
I do know
axis.
that much. I remember that from algebra.
Okay. The 5 C's, I just put them there. What is we started with character, I will walk my talk by. And what does that mean? And then we moved on to, commitment. I will show my commitment by. And then I put all of our leadership team across the top of your name. So everybody had to complete their respective.
X-axis.
On the x-axis. Yes, sir. Thank you. And then every person had to complete their particular column or their particular grid. And then I put it all together and I passed it out to you guys and apparently need to revisit it.
Okay. So, and if they want it, email you at, what's your email address?
Diana, Diana at markwhitehead.com.
Mark with a C.
Mark with a C.
You always have to say that because,
And I felt like this one, because, he talks about, Dom talks about how you can do a personal action plan with different relationships in your life. And obviously I needed to make it applicable to what we were experiencing. And so it's still a good idea, but I felt like we all needed to speak, again, the same version of English, not the King's English and not, Louisiana English. We are talking the same thing. And so that we can hold each other accountable to what you said you were going to do.
All right. My next action step is pick one trust building action this month. It could be to delegate. It could be to share info. It could be to open up a feedback channel. So, what's the lowest effort, highest impact thing that a law firm owner could do this week to build trust?
Yeah.
What could we do this week? Think about that. Let's give an example.
I think that, your lunch idea, I always without agenda. I will say I did the caveat when Mark told me to go to lunch with someone. It did not work that time.
Why not?
We were, neither of us were in the, okay, fine, extreme ownership. I was not in the mental space to accept what was happening.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a good tip. Before, but we,
try it again.
Do your zen, do some meditation, do some chants, some mantras or something like that to try to get your head straight, whatever it is.
But also
stand on your head, whatever it is.
Well, even so, again, you have to be going to lunch is not, it's just one step, but you have to be consistent and you have to do all the other parts of it. So, but the trust builder, that's what I would say. That's one of the best EOS tools we've tried to implement.
All right.
So
what you got?
Number 4, implement a debrief after conflict and get comfortable with absolute candor. We didn't talk on this much, if at all, in the competence part. So that's, I think, the third C in Dom's pillars. But under competence, he talks a lot about how after a flight, they get, they do a debrief. And he says, get naked in the debrief and use absolute candor with each other, because you don't grade on effort and you go by performance. And it doesn't mean, again, this, and going back to what we were talking about with Atticus, it's not like they're trying to hurt you when they give you absolute candor about, well, Mark, your growth plan kind of sucks.
Yeah.
It's not like they're trying to hurt you, but also, hey, Mark, you know what? You can do better. It's not like, you're giving A for effort here. So it's not about intention. And I think that's one of those things that we have to just get comfortable using absolute candor with each other and just trusting that every single time that they're coming from a good spot.
And I would say particularly after something screws up.
Yeah.
So when something screws up, say when a client goes off the rails and is not happy with us, which happens, let's have some candor here. What did we do something wrong? With absolute candor, let's not hide it, bury it. Let's not make excuses. What possibly could we have been wrong? What could we do better? Now, how can we go fix it?
Exactly.
Okay.
All right, Mark, what you got?
All right. Number 5, develop a feedback loop to ensure what you said is actually what you heard or what was heard. This has to do with communication. So don't assume just because words were directed in somebody's direction and they directed words back in your direction that you actually communicated.
Yep.
So it requires a feedback loop to understand whether the idea, the correct idea was actually communicated. Seen this happen many, many times, and it's always the lack of a feedback loop. I have this mantra with my people, like when I communicate something with them, and I want them to perform a particular task or work on a project or something, unless you give me some feedback and report back to me, I'm assuming it didn't get done, okay? Which is kind of harsh in the whole high trust environment, but it's not meant to come from a place of I don't trust you. It's meant to come from a place of we need feedback, okay? I need feedback. How did it go? What did you do? What were the results? Now let's tweak it. Let's modify it. Let's iterate something, and let's do it again. Let's do it again. But you have to have a feedback loop.
Yeah, Dom says that the biggest problem with communication is the presumption that it has occurred. And for me, I don't know why I love that so much, that quote, because it's not like when I'm asking you for clarification or when I'm asking you to close the loop, it's not like I don't trust you or that I don't, that I'm trying to be aggressive with the communication. It's just that I want to make sure we're actually saying the same thing to each other. And that kind of gave me freedom to be like, hey guys, let's get that last 10%. Like that's really it. The feedback loop, closing the feedback loop is the last 10%. Let's get all the way there and make sure everyone understands what we're saying to each other.
Okay. All right. Any closing thoughts before I'm getting the high sign that we got to get out of here?
Oh, no, thank you for the therapy session, Mark.
Well, I appreciate
Also, you owe
it.
me lunch.
Okay. All right. I owe you lunch. All right. With that, I want to thank everybody for listening to the Successful Barrister podcast, where legal legends are made. I'm Mark.
And I'm Diana.
And together we are the dynamic duo of law. So remember to rate and review us wherever you get your podcast. And hit that share button. I know it's right there on the bottom of my little iPhone. So just if you like what you hear, send it to your friends. Let's build our audience. And if you want to hit us up, Mark, spelled with a C, at marcwhitehead.com, or Diana at marcwhitehead.com. Hit us up with an email. And if you need to, want to sign up for our printed newsletter, I'm going to push this a little bit now too. Sign up for our printed newsletter. New edition is fixing to come out. Visit us at successfulbarrister.com. And be sure to visit our sponsor, Marc Whitehead Associates, a national disability law firm, at www.disabilitydenials.com. And with that, we're out of here.
Bye.